Hello and welcome to The Top Story, a podcast with the headlines of the day from our correspondents around the world. I'm Qizhi. Coming up in this edition, the Israeli military is mulling a powerful operation in Gaza after the cabinet approved plans to seize the territory. Shares of US media and entertainment companies slide after President Donald Trump proposed a 100% tariff on films made overseas. And China and the European Union mark 50 years of diplomatic ties, seeking to engage with each other more actively. We begin in the Middle East. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the military is mulling a powerful operation in Gaza after the cabinet approved plans to seize the territory. Officials say Israel will also maintain an indefinite presence. The military says the new move will force the majority of Gaza's population out of their homes. A spokesperson says it will include an offensive that will move most of the people to the south of the enclave. Officials say the offensive will begin after US President Donald Trump's trip to the Middle East next week. Jonathan Regev reports.
This time the aim is to actually preserve preserve presence of the Israeli army all over the territory. Perhaps the word occupation is one that is a bit difficult here for people to say, but this is pretty much what this plan calls for, an actual occupation of the Gaza Strip, a movement of civilians south, and this perhaps was the logic behind the creation of the Morag corridor, which is a corridor separating the southernmost part of the Gaza Strip and the other parts of the Strip. The Israeli aim, is to clear everything that is south of the Morag corridor. This is what the plan is calling for. According to Israeli officials, this would also facilitate the delivery of humanitarian aid, since it could be done in the area of Rafah and the southern Gaza Strip without the presence of Hamas, and Hamas would not be the one confiscating the aid and then selling it for very high prices. This is what Israel is hoping to achieve. The United States, we understand, is backing this plan. Reservists have begun to be called. There are some 60,000 or so Decrees 8 which have been delivered. There's still some hope that when the American president is in Qatar, two of the most important mediators, perhaps some kind of a deal will be worked out, which will return at least some of the hostages.
Protesters have gathered outside Israel's parliament to oppose the scale-up in the offensive. Critics warn that the conflict will never end if the new plan comes into effect. Families of the hostages are demanding a ceasefire, fearing that any escalation in fighting will endanger their loved ones. Meanwhile, Hamas has condemned Israel's attempt to seize Gaza and control aid deliveries as political blackmail. People in the enclave are anguishing over Israel's next move. Rami Amagari has more.
Feeling of disappointment and some kind of a frustration after having heard the Israeli plans for taking over the Gaza Strip and sending or transferring all the population in Gaza City here in northern Gaza Strip to the southern parts of the Gaza Strip. Something that is very disappointing for the population who have been able to return back to their homes and their places during that truce deal.
Expanding the military operation, what is left in the Gaza Strip for the occupying army to destroy even more? You're talking about vast areas in which we need GPS to know where our lands and homes are located. Then you come and say we want to expand a military operation. What's left for you to bomb?
What more will happen? Children died. Children were displaced. Children went hungry. Homes were destroyed. What more will happen?
Some signs of life have started here in the territory. Some people have had their homes repaired, even though the situation is very difficult now getting because of the humanitarian aid that has not entered the territory for the past several weeks, and the people started to have makeshift things to rely on, like the cooking gas that is lacking. People resort to wood fire. Some people have now resorted.
That was Rami Amagari describing the mood in Gaza. Elsewhere in Asia, Pakistan has carried out a second missile test in 3 days as tensions remain high with neighboring India. New Delhi has ordered several states to conduct security drills. Both countries are scrambling resources to respond to the crisis. Residents in border regions are living in uncertainty. On Pakistan's side of Kashmir, food security is the top priority for the government. Daniel Khan went to the region to see what life is like.
In the shadow of military escalation, the people of Azad Kashmir are preparing, not with weapons, but with wheat. The government here has launched a massive operation to rush supplies to villages most at risk.
As tensions with India run high, the food department here in Azad Kashmir is racing to restock wheat flour in vulnerable villages near the line of control, bracing for the worst if conflict breaks out.
We have allocated a billion rupee emergency fund and launched an intensive operation to stock at least 2 months' supply of wheat flour and medicines across the entire line of control belt. Traditionally, remote and snowbound areas stock flour for winter. But with threats of cross-border escalation looming, the Azad Kashmir government is now expanding storage even in accessible zones, relocating supply hubs away from exposed areas. We have stockpiled large quantities of wheat, lentils, sugar, rice and oil. Food officials are working around the clock to meet their target. The government has said that anything could happen at any time, and with fears of war looming, I came here to buy whatever essentials I can afford, some wheat and a bit of oil. As diplomatic efforts struggle to lower tensions for families here, readiness has become a way of life, not just for winter, but for potential conflict.
That was Daniel Khan reporting from near the line of control in Pakistan. Turning to North America, US President Donald Trump says he wants to meet with film executives about his proposal for 100% tariffs on movies made outside the United States. Trump said over the weekend that he had authorized commerce and trade officials to institute the taxes. Edith Tianjian has reactions from the Hollywood Reporter's European Bureau Chief Scott Roxburgh about how it will hurt Hollywood and the international film industry.
Saying Hollywood is being destroyed and blaming other nations for stealing the U.S. film industry. President Donald Trump announced on Monday films produced abroad would be subject to a 100% tariff.
So we're going to meet with the industry. I want to make sure they're happy with it because we're all about jobs. That's all what it's very important. It's a big industry, but it's an industry now that's it's really left. It's abandoned the USA where it started, and we'll get it back.
Hollywood has seen an exodus of film productions in recent years to other countries with cheaper labor and better tax incentives.
It'll be very difficult for them to do that. I can't see if they make something 100% outside the United States and then get tariffs slapped on them, that's going to make everything more expensive. I think the most likely consequence is not that more productions will be done outside of America or more productions will be done in America, but probably that just fewer productions will be made.
According to data from Film LA, last year's film production in Hollywood dropped 5.6% from 2023, making it the second lowest level on record. Some Hollywood movie studio executives said they're concerned about the possible tariffs. They wonder if the proposed duties would be calculated based on production costs or box office revenue. The move could have a dramatic impact on other film industries around the world, and some suspect that it could also trigger retaliation from other governments.
America exports a lot more than it imports. Most international markets in Europe and Canada are entirely dominated by American movies. 70-80% of the box office is American movies. So a tariff on all of those films would have a huge impact on the local industries and on the Hollywood sales.
California is currently pushing for a plan to more than double the state's film and TV tax incentives to $750 million annually. These latest proposed tariffs come at a time when the film industry is still trying to recover from strikes by actors and writers in 2023 and last year's wildfires.
In Australia, the Social Services Minister says the re-elected Labour Party government will make a case that US tariffs on foreign-made films are unjustified. The Foreign Minister also said they will tell the US administration about the government's opposition to the film tariffs. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said he had spoken with Trump and discussed tariffs after his re-election. On China's diplomacy, Tuesday marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between China and the European Union. Trade has kept growing, with China exporting 1.3 trillion yuan or over $180 billion of goods in the first quarter, up 1.4%. That means 10 million yuan of trade every minute, based on figures from China's General Administration of Customs. Li Jianhua has this report.
The anniversary comes at a time of global geopolitical uncertainty. With wars and trade barriers underway, trade has always been the cornerstone of bilateral ties. It started from just about $2.4 billion in 1975 when China established diplomatic ties with the predecessor of the current European Union to around $780 billion in 2024. And the European Union is the second largest trading partner of China. And of course, there are trade tensions. But the attention now is on whether Donald Trump's return to the White House and his sweeping tariff policy would motivate China and the European Union to work together more closely. And the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in January at Davos said that the European Union should engage with China more actively. And earlier I talked to Ambassador Cai Ren of Chinese mission to the European Union. He said that China and the European Union should work together. They are partners, not opponents.
我在同很多的中方朋友
In conversations with my Chinese and European friends, I often heard one view that makes perfect sense to me: to turn the points of friction and differences between China and EU into points of cooperation and growth in our relationship. There's promising potential in clean energy technology, new energy, and combating climate change. Another key area of cooperation in the future is artificial intelligence. We also share common interests and needs in upholding multilateralism, preserving the WTO-centered multilateral trading system, and opposing unilateralism and protectionism. It is important to further strengthen high-level exchanges. The 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties presents an opportunity to enhance such high-level exchanges. It is important to deepen practical cooperation. After over 50 years of exchanges and cooperation, including in economy and trade, China and EU have formed an economic relationship that is closely intertwined and highly symbiotic. China is now advancing high-quality development and Chinese modernization, while the EU is striving to enhance competitiveness. These efforts create fresh opportunities for collaboration.
That was the ambassador of China's diplomatic mission to the EU on future relations. And finally, data from China's Transport Ministry shows that travelers made more than 300 million domestic trips during the May Day holiday, a 6.4% increase. They spent 180 billion yuan, around $26 billion during the 5-day period, up 8%. Yu Li has more on how people spend their holiday.
This May Day holiday saw 3 trends reshaping China's consumption landscape. First up, the ticket stub economy, where event tickets can be used as citywide discount passes. Imagine using your Beijing International Film Festival ticket to snag deals at over 100 local shops, or flashing a music festival ticket for discounts on hotels, dining, and theme parks. Next, the instant tax refund policy took convenience to new heights. Foreign tourists can now claim value-added tax rebates on the spot at tax-free stores, with some malls automating the process using passport scans. No more waiting until departure. This policy covers purchases from 500 yuan to 50,000 yuan daily and has turbocharged duty-free spending. Last but not least, emotional value is the heart-warming trend going viral in Rizhao, Shandong, where truckloads of fresh clams flooded beaches daily to ensure no tourists left empty-handed. With hashtags like 3,000 half kilos of clams for emotional value trending nationwide, this quirky campaign symbolizes China's shift from transactional tourism to creating unforgettable human-centric moments. Together, these buzzwords now show how innovation, convenience, and heartfelt services are fueling a smarter, more connected and consumption boom in China.
That is Yuli reporting. Now, recapping the headlines before we go, the Israeli military is mounting a powerful operation in Gaza after the cabinet approved plans to seize the Palestinian territory. Shares of US media and entertainment companies have fallen after Donald Trump proposed a 100% tariff on films made overseas. And China and the European Union are marking 50 years of diplomatic relations, seeking to engage with each other more actively. And that's it for this edition of The Top Story, a podcast that brings you world headlines every weekday. For more news in politics, business, sports and culture, you can subscribe to the Beijing Hour, a one-hour podcast news magazine program. We welcome and appreciate all ratings and reviews. I'm Qi Zhi. Thank you for listening.